Mateus never imagined that silence would become his greatest teacher. In the beginning, silence was all he had. While the house slept, while the city slowed down, while the world seemed indifferent, he sat alone in his small bedroom staring at a computer screen that felt heavier than it looked. The glow of the monitor illuminated his face, tired eyes scanning lines of information that most people would have ignored. To everyone else, it was just something on the internet. To Mateus, it was possibility. He didn't talk about it. Not because he was hiding something, but because every time he tried, the reaction was the same. Laughter. Dismissal. Warnings disguised as advice. His family believed in honest work. Fixed hours. Monthly paychecks. Stability. To them, the internet was a distraction, a place for entertainment, not a place to build a future. When Mateus mentioned studying an online income technique, they looked at him with concern, as if he were slowly drifting away from reality. Focus on something real. People don't make money like that. You're wasting your time. His friends were harsher. They joked. They mocked. They called it luck, scams, illusions sold by strangers. Some laughed openly, others smiled politely, but none truly believed. And Mateus felt it, that quiet pressure to conform, to stop, to be like everyone else. But something inside him refused. He didn't feel smarter than anyone. He didn't feel special. What he felt was curiosity mixed with determination. A quiet voice telling him that maybe, just maybe, the path no one respected was the one worth walking. So he studied. He studied after dinner. He studied when everyone slept. He studied when motivation was low and doubt was loud. At first, nothing happened. Days passed. Weeks passed. The numbers didn't move. The results didn't appear. And those were the hardest moments, the ones no one sees, the ones that never make it into success stories. There were nights when Mateus closed the computer and stared at the ceiling, wondering if everyone else was right. Wondering if he was chasing something that didn't exist. Wondering if belief alone was not enough. But every morning he opened the computer again. Not because he was confident, but because he was committed. Slowly, patterns began to form. What once looked confusing started to make sense. He noticed connections others ignored. He learned from mistakes instead of running from them. And little by little, uncertainty transformed into understanding. Then came the first result. It was small. Almost insignificant. Most people wouldn't even notice it. But Mateus did. Because it wasn't about the amount, it was about confirmation. It worked. He didn't celebrate. He didn't tell anyone. He went back to studying. The second result came faster. Then the third. Then consistency. The numbers didn't explode overnight, but they grew steadily, quietly, like something alive. Mateus watched them carefully, afraid to believe too much, but unable to ignore what was happening. What used to be doubt became method. His routine changed. He woke up thinking about strategy, not survival. He planned his days with intention, not obligation. There was no boss, no uniform, no commute, but there was discipline. And discipline demanded more from him than any job ever had. Around him, nothing changed. His family still complained about work. His friends still joked about easy money. The world still didn't take him seriously. And Mateus stayed silent. Because he had learned something important. Explaining your vision to people who don't believe in it only drains your energy. Weeks turned into months. The income that once felt impossible started to feel normal. What he earned in a month became what others earned in a year. Then what he earned in weeks became more than most people ever saw. And the most shocking part? It hadn't taken long. One night, during dinner, a familiar conversation surfaced. A late bill. Stress. That quiet tension everyone pretended not to notice. Mateus listened. Then calmly he said he could handle it. The table went quiet. What do you mean, handle it? With what money? He took a breath. For the first time he didn't avoid the truth. He said he had enough. At first they laughed. But when he showed them, without pride, without exaggeration, the laughter died. Confusion replaced mockery. Silence replaced noise. Questions came fast. How long? How is this possible? Is this even legal? Mateus answered what mattered. He said it took study. He said it took patience. He said it took believing when no one else did. That night changed everything. But not in the way people expect. Respect didn't arrive immediately. Apologies didn't come. Support didn't suddenly appear. What appeared was disbelief. And disbelief is powerful. Disbelief spread faster than Mateus expected. Not because he talked about it, he didn't, but because people talk when something breaks their understanding of reality. The same relatives who once warned him now whispered his name in conversations. Not with certainty, not with admiration yet, but with confusion. How did this happen? When did he start? Why didn't we notice? Matthias noticed everything. He noticed the change in tone. He noticed the cautious respect replacing sarcasm. He noticed how people looked at him differently, as if trying to reconcile the person they thought they knew with the results they were now forced to accept. But inside he felt calm. Not because he felt superior, but because he knew how fragile their opinions were. They had been wrong before. They could be wrong again. What mattered was not what they thought now, but what he had done when they thought nothing of him. The money continued to grow. Not explosively, not recklessly, but consistently. And consistency is far more dangerous than luck. Matthias refined his process. He adjusted strategies. He analyzed patterns with patience most people never develop. He wasn't chasing money anymore. He was building control. That was the moment his mindset shifted permanently. He stopped asking, "Can this work?" and started asking, "How far can this go?" With that shift came clarity. Money stopped feeling emotional. It became data. Feedback. A reflection of decisions made days or weeks earlier. When numbers dropped, he didn't panic. When they rose, he didn't celebrate. He observed. Around him, reactions intensified. Some friends stopped calling. Their jokes had nowhere to land anymore. Humor doesn't survive evidence. Others came closer, suddenly curious, suddenly respectful, suddenly interested in learning. Matthias listened, but he didn't rush to teach. Because he understood something most people never do. People don't want the work, they want the outcome. His family slowly changed their posture. They still didn't fully understand what he did, but they couldn't deny the effects. Bills disappeared. Stress softened. The house felt lighter. For the first time, money was not the constant source of anxiety it had always been. Matthias helped quietly. He paid what needed to be paid. He fixed what needed fixing. Not to prove anything, but because he could. Still no one said sorry. And strangely that didn't hurt. Because somewhere along the way, Matthias had stopped needing validation from people who didn't believe in him when belief was expensive. One afternoon he met an old friend by chance. They talked about life. About work. About how hard things had become. The friend complained, sighed, and finally asked, "So, is it true?" Matthias didn't ask what he meant. He nodded. The friend stared at the ground for a moment before speaking again. "I remember when we laughed about it." Matthias smiled, not bitterly, not proudly, just honestly. "I remember too." That moment stayed with him. Not because it felt good, but because it reminded him of how alone the beginning had been. That loneliness had shaped him. It taught him discipline without applause. Confidence without witnesses. Progress without permission. As time passed, his income crossed lines he never thought he'd reach so soon. Numbers stopped feeling real. What once seemed unimaginable became routine. And yet, Matthias stayed grounded. He didn't chase luxury. He didn't announce success. His greatest reward wasn't what money bought, it was what it removed. Pressure. Fear. Urgency. For the first time in his life he had time to think. And thinking changed everything. He reflected on the past. On the nights he almost quit. On the comments that still echoed in his mind. On the versions of himself that could have given up, but didn't. He realized something important. Most people fail not because they are incapable, but because they stop too early. They stop when results are invisible. They stop when support disappears. They stop when belief becomes uncomfortable. Matthias didn't. And that was the only difference. One evening, sitting alone again in his room, the same room where it all started, he felt a strange mix of gratitude and clarity. The room hadn't changed much. The desk was better. The computer faster. But the silence felt familiar. It reminded him of who he was before anyone believed. And that mattered. Because success without memory creates arrogance. Success with memory creates humility. Matthias never forgot. As Matthias's life stabilized financially, something unexpected happened. The noise around him grew quieter. The questions slowed down. The curiosity faded. The surprise became acceptance. People had adjusted. What once shocked them now simply existed. And that taught Matthias one of the most honest lessons of his journey. People don't remember disbelief, they adapt to results. What mattered yesterday becomes normal tomorrow. And that was fine. Matthias didn't need admiration. He didn't need applause. What he had gained was far more valuable: autonomy. The ability to choose. The freedom to say no. The freedom to walk away. He noticed how differently he moved through the world now. He listened more. He reacted less. He thought deeper. Money had not made him louder, it had made him calmer. With time, even the people who once laughed began to speak differently. Not apologetically, not proudly, but carefully. You were brave. I could never do that. I wish I had believed sooner. Mateus never corrected them. Because bravery only looks like bravery after it works. Before that, it looks like foolishness. And he remembered exactly how foolish he looked to everyone else. One afternoon, while helping his family with something simple, he realized something important. He was giving back, not because he felt obligated but because he wanted to. There was no resentment. No need to prove a point. He had won quietly. That night, sitting alone again, Mateus reflected on how short the entire transformation had been. Not in effort but in time. What felt like an eternity while living it now looked like a brief chapter. A chapter defined not by money but by resistance. Resistance to doubt. Resistance to fear. Resistance to other people's limitations. He understood something clearly. The internet didn't make him rich. The technique didn't change his life. The money wasn't the real reward. The reward was self-trust. Trust built when no one claps. Trust built when no one supports. Trust built in silence. That trust changed how he approached everything else in life. When faced with new challenges, he didn't ask for permission. When others doubted new ideas, he didn't feel the need to convince them. When fear appeared, he recognized it, but didn't obey it. Mateus had learned the rhythm of growth. Slow at first. Invisible for a long time. Then undeniable. And he knew that this rhythm applied to everything, not just money. One day, a younger cousin asked him how he did it. Mateus didn't talk about numbers. He didn't talk about platforms. He didn't talk about strategies. He said something simple. I didn't stop when it was uncomfortable. That was the truth. Most people don't fail because they choose the wrong path. They fail because they quit before the path reveals itself. Mateus didn't need to be an example. But he became one. Not because he was perfect, but because he stayed. Today, when someone says that making money online isn't real, Mateus doesn't argue. He smiles politely. He understands. He used to hear that every day. And he knows something they don't yet. Every new path sounds impossible to those who never walked it. Every breakthrough looks ridiculous before it looks obvious. And every life-changing decision begins as a quiet choice made alone. Mateus made that choice. When no one believed. When no one supported. When no one clapped. And in doing so, he built a life that no one could question anymore. Not because he proved them wrong, but because he proved himself right.